so strange how I'm second-guessing my instincts. I never do that. And yet, this woman has me twisted. She lied to me, but that is nothing new. People lie to me all the time. But it's the way she lied, and the way she explained it. Why go through all that trouble? Something isn't right. But can I possibly believe the ramblings of other worlds, shadow creatures, godlike beings? A war between factions, and a group under it all? It feels too much like that book Metropolis that just arrived in the library this year. I can't believe it. I won't believe it. But what if she believes it and is still in trouble? What if the people keeping Jonathan from exploring the rest of the underground are actually doing something bad? Perhaps Jane or Constance was harmed by them. She's traumatized. Perhaps they did something to her mind. And her memories and nightmares are scrambled. But then again, maybe this is all some elaborate trick to get me to go to the mansion. They might know my connection to Dr. Mills and want me out of the way, silently buried. All of this is making me believe that I must go to the mansion, just to find out what's going on. It isn't the first time I'm in the midst of dangerous people who want me dead. My dreams might be calmed if I finish this thing. I still don't remember what happened, but I have the feeling of dread that I was touched by something evil. And to see her face when I woke, the dread disappeared. I need to choose my fate soon, because my denial is burdened by her eyes. They were kind eyes, but there was real fear shining through her irises. What's that? It can't be.
Silence! Your life is in danger. We must warn you. The woman you speak to, Constance, stay away from her. She will only bring you harm. Listen, girl. You must leave her behind. Do not disobey. Stay away. Stay away.
Welcome to the quest for the Green Ball! Lost in Dreamlands. Upsets galore in the league last week with multiple top teams falling to last place teams and a few others seized the opportunity to make statement wins. A true top contender doesn't seem to exist, with several teams showing they have what it takes to make a run in the playoffs. And if the teams at the bottom can win, it gives hope to all teams that key win can come at the right time to make that move. But living in the present, we must look at what happened as the dust settled on strange results, as tight ends went off on National Tight Ends Day for maybe the greatest week for that position in fantasy football in over a year, and as shuffling continues in our league standings. And we begin with the last as remember the Titans hosted low-key Lebowski Thor in Chicago 1967. This one was close into the end as low-key Lebowski Thor survived for the biggest upset of the season with a 98.84 to 96.24 victory. Remember, the Titans had a punt return for a touchdown by the Steelers defense on Monday night, which also had 4 sacks, an interception, and a fumble recovery to finish with 17 points, but it wasn't enough. That's because Jalen Hurts went off for 236 passing yards, 37 rushing yards, and 4 total touchdowns, including 3 by the tush push. Alvin Kamara added 122 yards and Chase Brown had a touchdown. The Broncos defense collected 2 sacks and 2 picks. Remember, the Titans were led by Jahmyr Gibbs and his 133 yards and a 50-plus yard touchdown. Jamar Chase and Evan Ingram also scored. But another area that could be seen as a turning point, besides remember the Titans going with Caleb Williams over Brock Purdy, is with the players to watch. Marvin Harrison Jr. had 111 yards and a touchdown for Lebowski Thor in a huge game. Malik Neighbors finished with 71 yards for remember the Titans, but Neighbors was not able to get both feet down on a potential touchdown catch. And you can say that's one of the big differences here. Lebowski Thor moves to 2-6 to keep hope alive. Remember the Titans falls to 6-2, meaning the Elite Mother Tucker's record will stand another year. They do remain in first place in the American Void by a game.
You know, there's a lot I don't know. Like what happens after we die? Or how long time will go on. But I do know this. Never bet on the Bears. What's wrong with you?
This is why fantasy football is great. You never know what will happen regardless of projections. And the same can be said for the rest of these results. It was a crazy week, and you will see in the best of the rest. Jordan also pulled off a big upset with a 93.62 to 86.14 win at home over the Clash at Demon Head. Kyle Pitts went off for 91 yards and 2 touchdowns, while Raheem Mostert added 2 scores. Tank Dell also reached the end zone, and Anthony Richardson had a 50-plus yard touchdown pass. Jordan Love's injury hurt the Clash at Demon Head, but DeAndre Swift kept her in the game with 129 yards and a score. Jonathan Taylor also returned to collect 117 yards and a touchdown, and Garrett Wilson added 113 yards. Trey McBride also had a big day at tight end with 124 yards, but the Ravens defense and Brandon Aubrey disappointed. Air Jordan moves to 2-6 and is not done yet. The Clash at Demon Head falls to 4-4 and now is a game out of first place in the European Void.
Pounders hosted Minerva's Minions in Beijing 31-45, and a 50-plus yard Hail Mary touchdown by Jaden Daniels with 2 seconds left that crushed the spirit of Bears fans, also crushed the spirit of the Minions, as it helped Pounders pull off a tough 110.94 to 103.14 win. Daniels also had 326 passing yards and 52 rushing yards. James Conner finished with 69 yards and a score, and James Cook went off for 133 yards and 2 touchdowns. The Bills' defense added a sack, interception, and a fumble recovery while holding Seattle to just 10 points. Kirk Cousins had 4 touchdowns for the Minions, and Saquon Barkley added 111 yards, though he was vultured 3 times by Jalen Hurts on the goal line. Amon-Ra St. Brown caught a score, and David Njoku came alive again with 61 yards and a touchdown. The Chiefs' defense finished with 5 sacks and a fumble recovery. Pounders moves to 6-2 and remains a game up in the Asia-Pacific void. The Minions fall to 3-5 and are 2 games back in the European void. The Stellar Bitches hosted Green Acres in Mexico City 1955 and survived a very low-scoring game, 69.76 to 51.58. Darnell Mooney had 86 yards and a score, and Zay Flowers finished with 115 yards. Najee Harris picked up 131 yards, and Joe Burrow threw a touchdown. Rashad White and Sam Laporta both scored for Green Acres, and Chris Boswell had 4 field goals, but leaving Ramondre Stevenson on the bench hurt. The Stellar Bitches move to 5-3 and are 1 game back of first in the American Void. Green Acres falls to 3-5 and is 3 games back in the Asia-Pacific Void. Risky Business hosted the Overcomers and had to win another high-scoring battle, 113.7 to 100.5. Josh Jacobs went off for 125 yards and 2 scores, while Kyron Williams added 116 yards and a touchdown. Sam Darnold threw for 2 touchdowns, and Tucker Kraft finished with 78 yards and a score. J.K. Dobbins also reached the end zone, and Justin Jefferson picked up 115 yards. Cade Otton had 81 yards and 2 scores for the Overcomers, and the Lions defense finished with a sack, 2 interceptions, 2 fumble recoveries, a kickoff return for a touchdown, and allowed just 14 points. C.J. Stroud and Derrick Henry also had touchdowns, but it wasn't enough. It also hurt that Devin Singletary started over Tyrone Tracy in this one. That would have been enough for the win. Risky Business moves to 5-3 and is a game back in the Asia-Pacific Void. The Overcomers fall to 3-5 and are still 3 games back in the European Void. The final matchup was the highest scoring of the week as More Than Conquerors traveled to Moscow 24-35 and sprinted to a 148 to 116.92 victory over the elite Mother Tuckers. CeeDee Lamb had 146 yards and 2 scores, and Kyler Murray finished with 307 passing yards and 2 touchdowns. Joe Mixon is proving to be a big trade pickup with 134 yards and a score, and David Montgomery also reached the end zone. Travis Kelce came to life with 90 yards and a touchdown, and Kareem Hunt continues to do well as an injury replacement on the Chiefs, collecting 63 yards and a score. The Chargers defense had 5 sacks and allowed just 6 points. Devon Achane had 147 yards and a score to lead the elite Mother Tuckers. George Kittle added 128 yards and a touchdown, and Bijan Robinson finished with 106 yards and a score. Aaron Rodgers had 2 scores, and Tony Pollard chipped in with 117 yards. The Texans' D added 5 sacks and an interception, as well as a fumble recovery. More Than Conquerors moves to 5-3 and is back in first place in the European Void. The elite Mother Tuckers fall to 4-4 and are 2 games back in the Asia-Pacific Void. Was last week's results enough to move the power rankings at the top? Well, the rest of the season projections will still affect everything, but as we get closer to the final stretch of weeks in the regular season, those projections will begin to be superseded by the actual results. So do not be surprised if a team moves into the top 3 and begins to hold their ground as these next couple of weeks pass. Still, with multiple upsets and a few disappointments in the middle, the power rankings might have one of the biggest shuffles since weeks 1 through 3. And that's the show. Hope you enjoyed it. Tomorrow we will see our 9th location in the next big preview, plus all the other matchups and what could be a crazy week. I mean, we got some crazy matchups coming up. And remember, obviously, before you go to check out the updated power rankings. Until next time, salut.